Get started and record the session. And the agenda that I have for this morning is to spend a couple minutes and giving you an idea of my background. Some of you have met me before. Some of you may not have met me. And so I want to just give you a little bit of background about myself and why I'm talking about this topic and the expertise that I have in this area, and then get right into the topic today: three keys to success as a solo professional. And after that, answer any questions you have. Again, as I mentioned, feel free to ask as we go along. Can definitely make this as interactive as possible as we go, and then just talk about next steps at the end of the session today. So it'll be about an hour that we'll be spending together as I go through things with you. So a little bit about myself. I'm a banker turned author, coach, and counselor. And a lot of people, especially people that know me from the banking world, are quite surprised when they hear that. I have 15 years total in the banking world, and I worked as a private banker for part of that period of time. Primarily, the roles I were in were consultative role within wealth management, so helping professionals, helping entrepreneurs, primarily with their finances and all the different financial goals they have for their business, and also personally. And bringing in the roles I was in was really a consultant, if you will, and I would bring in all the different experts to help with investing. I would do the lending as a private banker and help them with their banking needs, and then bring in the insurance team, the estate planning team, and really just provide that holistic approach, which that has always been something that I have really believed in, and then that's what I do as a coach and counselor with my clients, is look for ways, if I'm not able to assist them, to find the right people to be able to help them with whatever they're going through. So one thing I feel makes me unique as a coach and counselor is my business background. So my total experience throughout my career is 20 years in sales and relationship management positions. So I've worked for a startup company back in 2000 that focused on helping realtors with marketing online. So that was back when websites were really starting to be used more in the real estate world. 360 tours were just coming out, multi-picture listings, and so educating and assisting realtors in that space. So it was a neat company to be a part of. I've also worked in other in technology firms, business intelligence firm called Business Objects, which is now SAP. SAP took them over a number of years ago. So I was working with very large companies on their data management needs. And banking, I started in university and eventually came back into banking later on in my career, because it was an area that I really enjoyed, and it came down to helping people, which I serving people, which I do in my role today as a coach and counselor. The book that I'm going to be talking about, my book today, Engage, Connect, Grow, and it is an Amazon bestseller, which I'm proud to have that accomplishment. Last fall, was able to launch the book and have really good success from it. So it's a bestseller in two categories: organizational behavior and workplace. So it's a neat accomplishment to have, and it's just a great tool to be able to help my clients with. And that's what I base a lot of the work that I do with my clients is on the lessons in my book, which you'll get to see today. And I still consider myself a small town boy in the big city. I grew up in Williams Lake for all of my school years, elementary school, high school, and went to university in Kamloops. And growing up, my dad went to UBC when he was in university, and we were in Vancouver quite a bit, visiting family and driving up to UBC. So I always thought the city was quite large, coming from Williams Lake, such a big city. And then as I got older and traveled the world a lot more, I started to recognize that Vancouver is quite small compared to the going to Paris. I've been to India, and but still, I've always considered myself a small town boy. live in Langley with my wife Farah and two boys, Ben and William, aged 2 and 9. And when I'm not doing these types of presentations and when I'm not working, I enjoy spending time with my family. And my son's active in hockey, and we love going to the parks and playing outside and that kind of thing. So family's definitely something that's always been very important to me. Okay, so let's get right into today's presentation. The 3 keys to success as a solo professional. What I thought I would just start off with, these may be statistics that you've seen before, but I thought it would create a bit of a foundation for the presentation today. These are from Stats Canada and Innovation, Science and Economic Development of Canada. So one thing that stands out here is the majority of businesses, essentially 98%, and this is from 2016, are small businesses. So their size from 1 employee to 99 employees. So that's the makeup of businesses in Canada. And the amount of employees that impacts is 8.2 million people are employed in that arena of small businesses. So which I can see makes up the essentially the solopreneur, professional space. Having a practice that's under 100 employees, probably more like under 50 employees. But there's a lot of people that are employed in that area, and the contribution to GDP by province on average is 30%. This is as of 2014. And BC and Alberta actually contribute the highest share. BC was at 33% and Alberta was at 32%. So just showing the significant contribution that small business has, as you may already know. On the other side of that is basically that 96% of small businesses survive for 1 year. 85% survive for 3 years, and 70% survive for 5 years. So there can be this pressure, whether the business owner is aware of it or not, in the fact that the statistics don't really bode well for the survival of these types of businesses, and that the right things need to be in place in order to succeed past that 5-year mark, as shown here. This may be hard to read, but this just shows this is from 5 years ago in 2013. So this just shows by industry the amount of new companies that are born, and then the amount of companies in that industry that have ceased to exist. So if you look at professional services, which is down just below the middle of the graph, in 2013 there's about 13.8 thousand that were born, and 12,500 that died, didn't exist in that year. Real estate, 4.2 thousand, about 5,400 didn't exist at the end of that year. So what I find interesting about this graph is how close the births and the deaths are. There's not a great difference in the amount of new companies that are born into the small, and this actually includes medium-sized businesses as well, but are born and that close out in that given year. Now we don't know the reason why they closed. It could be retirement. It could have been acquired, but it just kind of shows an interesting visual representation of the amount of companies in most industries that are starting in a year are also that same amount are potentially ending in that year as well, which can speak to those statistics around the survival rate of small businesses. So why do entrepreneurs fail? This is an article that I got off a business section of CNBC. They talk about the 3 reasons that entrepreneurs fail. One of them is they don't give themselves enough runway. And so if you consider the visual image of or even the experience of flying in an airplane, and the amount of energy it takes to take off just to get into the air. If you've ever been in an airplane before, and you know what that takeoff feels like, and the amount of speed that the plane needs to get to before it can actually get off the ground, That can, and then once the plane's in the air, it's a lot easier to maneuver and make adjustments for the pilot, and you don't have that same amount of force that's needed to get to initially get off the ground, and that can speak directly to a business owner, that it takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, especially as a solo professional when you're wearing many hats, and you need to be the sales team, you need to be the operations team, you need to be the the finance team, the marketing team, and so there's a lot of energy to get off the ground and get to the point where you've had liftoff, and now there's just little tweaks in that to maneuver to continue as you go. The other factor is a lot of people that aren't aware of what it entails to actually be a business owner. If you think of somebody that's been trained in a technical area such as a dentist or a chiropractor, and they've gone to school for many years as a lawyer, and they've got this technical experience, and then now they're having to run their own business, which they may have not got a lot of training in school, and are now learning about what it means to actually be a business owner, and be have to manage people, and then that may not be something that they're that they've done a lot of training in and how to do that. And then another factor is there is some products and services that come out to the market that there hasn't been enough research done, and they really don't have a market. They may have a great idea, but they haven't really found the right market, and they fail because they didn't do their proper research to even see if the market is willing to purchase and use the service or product that they're offering. Another article talks about reasons that entrepreneurs fail is lack of planning, time management challenges, as well as lack of persistence. And Michael Jordan's quote here is pretty powerful. Growing up, I was more of a Lakers fan and followed Magic Johnson, but I was very impressed by Michael Jordan's abilities, and he talks about the fact that he missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. He lost close to 300 games, and 26 times he was trusted to take the winning shot to win the game, and he missed. So he failed over and over again, and that's his reason for success, what he feels. So he actually looks at failure as actually an avenue to get to be successful. Jack Canfield here is an author that I've followed for many years, and I remember seeing him present in Vancouver one year, and he talked about that he was rejected 144 times by publishers for the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, him and his co-author Mark Victor Hansen. And so for almost a year, or just over a year, 14 months, they were rejected 144 times. And one publisher said that the book wouldn't sell 20,000 copies. Jack, he wanted it to sell, or felt it would sell at least 500,000, and the publisher had laughed at him for that. And if you look at the accomplishments of this book series, over 250 titles are out there now. They've sold over 110 million in Canada and the U.S. It's in 43 languages. It's published in 100 countries, and they've sold over 500 million copies worldwide. Right? So definitely accomplished a lot more than was than this publisher had said, and just didn't look at rejection as a way to pull back and stop, but to actually, okay, what, one other rejection means that we're that much closer to getting a yes. And a fun personal note on the Chicken Soup for the Soul is I actually have a story published in the grandmother's edition. Our family has quite a humorous story about our grandma at Christmas time that we've done annually, a present that we've given to her every year. And I actually submitted the story to the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, and they were doing a book on grandmothers. And our if you check it out, you'll see our story in there. So it's kind of a neat accomplishment that our family was able to have with that series. So when we talk about success, a lot of people consider that, and when they first get into business, they think success is going to be a straight line. And then they learn relatively quickly that it's not that straight line, that there's a lot of back and forth, and you may even take 5 steps back before you can take another step forward. And so there's a reality of what it actually looks like, and to come to the place of accepting it. That's what it's going to take to be successful, and that there's going to be struggles and barriers that come up along the way. So today what I want to do is talk about the three keys that I talk about is the theme of this presentation, and those keys being the titles of the sections of my book: Engage, Connect, Grow. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of these lessons this morning, and talk about these specific areas and how they can help a solo professional be successful. So what it takes to actually be successful. I like this quote. So the most reliable way to predict the future is to create it, to actually choose to participate in life instead of just watching it pass you by. And so when I talk about key number one, as far as engage, this is the first section of my book, and it's has a series of lessons in there around engagement, and really it's about deciding to become an active participant in your business, in your life, and you're going to actually be actively involved in making that decision. So if you're a solo professional and you've got a technical background and you maybe are lacking in certain perhaps business skills or management skills, to actually commit to working on them, to make a commitment to, okay, I'm going to be actively involved in improving in this specific area. And so what I feel, this engagement is all about, and deciding to engage and become an active participant, is around self-awareness, and to take a step in being fully aware of, what am I contributing to this struggle that I'm running into, right? And to really look at certain areas of your own self. And when I talk about this with clients, I talk about it being a time for a reality check. Like, let's do a reality check here and really open up and explore what's actually going on that may be causing these challenges that are arising. And so one of the lessons in my book is around intention. And so the late Wayne Dyer, he's quoted as saying, "Our attention creates our reality." And so what that means to me is that the intention that we set, whether it's an intention just to step into a meeting that we're having, right? And before we go into that meeting, the intention that we want to get out of that meeting, or it's a bigger intention around our practice and our business of what we want to accomplish, is the intention that we set is going to actually, our reality is going to present itself based on the intention we've set. And sometimes we can sabotage that intention by not fully believing in it or not being fully committed to it. Right. Does anybody know, and you can either unmute your microphone and share, or you can chat in the chat window, does anybody know what the three key ways that adults learn and gravitate towards as far as learning? The learning styles of adults. Anybody know what those are? Got Rika says kinesthetic. Yeah, kinesthetic's one of them. Yeah. Yeah, so actually feeling or using your hands, it's definitely and actually doing something to actually do it. Visual, Andrew, yeah, visual is one of them. That's right. Yeah. And then auditory. Yeah, auditory is the other one, exactly. Yeah, so you've got these three learning styles that as adults, a lot of times we gravitate to one over another, and there's power in embracing all of them, because we can all learn and we all benefit from using all of them, but you may find that you gravitate to one over another. And so when you're creating an intention or a goal, there's benefits of looking at what the goal is going to actually visually look like. Right? What are you going to see when you achieve that goal? What are you going to see? So if you've ever used vision boards, or of people that use vision boards, they learn best through pictures and visual stimulus, right? So what are you going to see when you achieve that goal? What's it going to look like? Uh, and then the other aspect of it is the auditory, right? So when you're setting a goal, what are you going to be saying to yourself? What are you going to be hearing? Right? So what types of things are you going to be saying to yourself? And sometimes when we set a goal, like when I talked about sabotaging ourselves, sometimes we can, along the way, negative thoughts can come into our head, and we can start to, not be believing, the goal that we want to accomplish can actually happen, right? So being really aware of what are the things that we're going to be saying to ourselves when we accomplish the goal, and how can we continue to say those things now on a regular basis to help us with accomplishing that goal, right? And then the kinesthetic, or the feeling side of things. So what are you going to be feeling when you experience your goal? And what's that going to look like, sound like, and feel like? So whenever setting a goal, it's ultimately about considering what the experience you're going to have. What's your experience going to be when you walk into that meeting, when you 3 years down the road in your business, whatever the goal is, right? What is your experience going to be? What do you want to actually have as your experience? And this can be a powerful way. I've been in sales and customer service positions for all of my career, as I mentioned earlier, and done lots of different things on goal setting. And this is a powerful exercise as far as really getting into knowing what your experience is going to be like, so that along the way, when you hit a roadblock or a barrier comes up, that it's a great way to reconnect and remind yourself where you're actually headed. What's the destination? And so that curving line of success may show up, but you can come back to what your intention is, and be clear as to, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is where I'm headed. This is the destination I'm going towards. Maybe I need to, take a different turn one way or the other, but I'm still heading in that direction. Right? So I'm going to read a journal entry from my book, a couple journal entries actually, around intention. So the book that I've written is a workbook, and I actually, in a lot of the lessons, I share journal entries from previous years and up until more recently within the last 4 years. And one of the reasons I decided to do that was I just found that journaling actually helped me a lot when I was struggling and trying to find different answers to challenges I was running into. And there's lots of research around journaling, and it can actually improve not only mental health but physical health just by writing out positive and negative things that we're going through. So I'll read from you a couple of these journal entries. This is one from 1998. So this is way back, when I was in just out of university. And this is what I tie this to, and see that at this point in time in my life, this speaks to my intention of what I was trying to accomplish. I want to be recognized. I want to be heard. Can you see me? I'm over here. I want to be recognized. I want to be heard. I want to be recognized and seen all over the world. I want to be seen. How hard can it be? What do I need to prove? How long does it take? I don't want to have to wait. I can see my reflection, so I am for real. Maybe I don't want to be recognized. Maybe I already have been by me. The waiting should end, for I have been recognized by the most important person of all, myself. So one of the things that would happen when I was writing my journal entries, I tended to write sometimes in more of a poem type of format. And the actual writing out, so in this particular one, my ego's kind of at the forefront. I want to be recognized and people aren't seeing me. But as I'm writing it, I'm actually coming to a realization. And that happened a lot for me when I was writing, is I'd actually come to the real answer that I was trying to figure out. And in this case, that I don't need everybody else to see me and hear me. I need to actually do that for myself. Right. If we skip ahead to 16 years later, so 2014, this is what I wrote around intention. What do I want? My intention is to open my soul, mind, and body to what it is I truly want. Rest, peace, joy, loving relationship, family, authenticity, solid, openness, unconditional love, and freedom. So over the course of many years, I was able to start to resonate what words actually spoke to my intention. And all of these words, would have and do have, sounds, visual representations, and feelings that for me around them. So it's amazing what certain words can do for us if they resonate with us and help us just by reminding ourselves of these intentions on a regular basis when we're looking to accomplish a goal. So what is your intention? What is something that you're looking to accomplish, and what would that experience be like for you to have that intention come real, to actually to achieve it? Okay, so something to consider, to reflect on, and takeaway is to look at what your intention would look like, sound like, and feel like. So another part of engage, this key is feelings, and for me, I always had trouble with connecting to my feelings for many years growing up, and it's nothing against my parents. I just the experience I had was in our home that I felt like I always had to be happy. And even around my friends, if I wasn't happy, if I wasn't making jokes and being happy, then something must be wrong with me, right? Because if I was ever sad or mad, I had to go to my room and figure it out for myself, typically, right? And so our feelings can impact our success. They can be one of those barriers that come up when we're looking to grow and to be more self-aware of who we are. Because there may be some feelings that you embrace no problem, right? Other feelings that you may have learned to resist for some reason, right? For whatever reason, and that can happen when we're stressed out. Is we don't want to feel that stress because we're believing that something bad is going to happen if we feel that stress, and so we resist it, and we may do certain things, get busier, or do something to actually resist feeling it. And so avoiding it, trying to avoid feelings can come up. It can have trouble naming them. And this is what happened for me. I had trouble actually naming my feelings and actually expressing how I felt, and what that meant to me, those feelings, right? And there's something to be said, and this through my counseling training, my 3-year counseling program I took, I learned about allowing feelings to be present. So if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling even happy or joyful, to actually allow those feelings to be present. If you're feeling sad, to allow sadness to be there. And it may not be it may not be something you can do in the workplace necessarily, but to actually make a commitment that, okay, I am feeling sad now. I want to look at this when it's appropriate on my own, perhaps, right? And to allow those feelings to just be there. And a lot of times tears will start to happen, and they'll immediately want them to avoid them and not allow them to be there. And it may be a certain circumstance that's not appropriate, but it's also a signal that there's maybe some sadness there that needs to be expressed. And from my own experience with depression, because I experienced depression for many years of my career and my personal life, a therapist highlighted something for me, in my 30s that no one ever told me, was that anger turned inward is depression. And this light bulb went off for me, because I realized that I had been holding on to anger and not really knowing how to express anger in an effective and safe way. And so that, so taking steps to do that actually helped open up and relieve a lot of the depression I was feeling, because there was just feelings that I hadn't expressed and hadn't allow them to be present. All right, so I'm going to share with you another journal entry, a couple journal entries around feelings from my book. This one's from the year 2000, so 18 years ago, in March 2000. I wrote, "I'm feeling isolated. I don't know if that's the word, but I don't feel like talking to anybody. It's like someone could say whatever they want to me, and I just sit there not replying. Little things have been frustrating me. It's like I just want to hide in my room for a while. My self-esteem is depleted, and I don't know why. This seems to happen every few months. So this was something, it had started in high school, where I had these ups and down periods where I would just have these moments where I just wanted to be on my own and not not associate with people very much. My depression never actually kept me out of my job. I never stayed home sick because of my depression. I would still go to work, and it's just coming home. Once I was at home, I would just want to just sit and do nothing, and because I used all my energy to get to work and put on a face to and in the workplace. But getting home is where I had these moments of wanting just to kind of hide and just be with myself. And this cycle would happen, and I remember I'd have moments where I'd be feeling really good and wondering, okay, when is that cycle going to end, and I'm going to be feeling bad. And that's I struggle with that, because here I am feeling amazing, and I'm taking that away because I'm worried that I'm going to start feeling bad about myself at some point. Right? If I skip ahead 12 years, another journal entry here. This is what I wrote. This is after a pretty powerful workshop that I did in February 2012. I got to feel it was painful. I got to feel it was scary. I got to feel and it was wonderful. I got to feel. I got to feel. I got to feel and it woke me up. I got to feel and it cleared my head. I got to feel and it made me laugh. I got to feel. I got to feel. I got to feel and share it with the world. I got to feel and it gave me a voice. I got to feel and it scared those around me. I got to feel. I got to feel. I got to feel and now it's in hiding. I got to feel and the fear is on. I got to feel and I have moments I've lost it. I got to feel. I got to feel. I feel the anxiety and fear. I feel strength I didn't have before. I feel lighter and clearer. I feel I can do this. I feel a new sense of love surrounding me. I feel grateful, so grateful. I feel comforted that even if I don't feel this 100%, it's okay. So this workshop, it was through Clear Mind International, where I ultimately got my counseling designation through. I didn't take the workshop looking to become a counselor. I was going through a divorce and separation, and that led to a divorce, and realized I needed some extra help. And this workshop gave me an opportunity to feel sad, to feel that sadness I've been holding on to for years. It gave me an opportunity to feel angry that I hadn't really felt in a while, and it was really powerful. And writing this afterwards, it just showed me that I can feel happy and I can feel anxious at the same time, right? There's a whole bunch of feelings you can have at any given moment. It's not just one or the other. There isn't like a barrier holding back from different emotions. There can be a whole mix of emotions that can be there. And then to be gentle with myself and to recognize that it's okay if I'm feeling this way, right? It's not a bad thing, right? It's just how I feel right now. And to be able to move forward and recognizing that I'm okay, even if I'm feeling anxious, even if I'm feeling hurt, and also to embrace the joy and happiness that I have. So I learned a lot about having a better relationship with my feelings, right? So a question to ask yourself and reflect on is what is your relationship with your feelings? When I do these exercises in more of a workshop format, there's an opportunity for people to actually spend some time and write these, write questions out, or write answers to this type of question out. Is exploring what is your relationship to your feeling. Is there ones that you embrace? Is there ones that you avoid? Do you actually allow them to happen? Do you have trouble naming them and that? So for today, it's just an opportunity to reflect and consider, is there an opportunity to improve on your relationship with your feelings? I do have a resource that might be of use to and helpful to you around this. On my blog, there's an article called "Your Feelings," and it's actually the lesson from my book is in my blog. And at the end of the lesson, you can download a feelings chart. And this is something that a therapist gave to me a number of years ago, as a way to, throughout the day, just play with, okay, what am I feeling right now? and to be able to write that down and describe it. And if I can't describe it, there's a chart of different words associated with feelings to be able to help me connect the dots as to how to name it, and then also be able to start to understand the intensity. Like, is it really low? Am I feeling it at a 1, or am I feeling it really intense at a 10? And to start to build that awareness around feelings in that. So there's on my blog. You can also just type in the chat box that type in feelings chart, and I'm happy to. I have your email from registering for the session. I'm happy to send that to you as well. So the second key has to do with the idea that one thing leads to another, and everything is connected. There's this connection. We as human beings desire connection, right? And connection is so important. And the definition I use around connect in the book is to bring together into contact so that there's a real emotional link is established. So to bring together this connection. And a lot of that connection for a solo professional can be with themselves, because there can be a lot of energy put on their clients and doing everything for the client to be successful in the business, and forgetting to actually take care of themselves. And so there's these behaviors that can show up. And this little guy here reminds me of my 2-year-old son, William, who likes to play with everything electrical and take vent covers off of the floor, and get into everything that's not his toys at times. So there's the behaviors that we gravitate towards, and these behaviors can actually be when we're stressed out or anxious, and we may not be fully aware that we're doing this. And this is actually a workshop in itself that I can do as for people and getting into exploring these behaviors. But I'll cover some of them with you today. So your behaviors around things like gossiping. In the counseling world, we refer to this as triangling. And so gossiping is a natural thing that we do as humans. That we want to be gossiping and talking about different things, but it's aware of what is actually going on and what's the reason and the intention behind gossiping, right? Because typically gossiping, we're talking about somebody else who's not actually in the room. And is that actually fair for that person? And typically gossiping is a way that, I'm frustrated with this individual. I need to get it. I need to hand over. If you imagine that you're hanging onto an anxiety ball from this particular situation, and you're trying to find somebody to hand that anxiety ball over to, and take this anxiety away from you, so that you engage in a gossiping conversation talking about this person. And then really, if that person buys into your story, they're going to take the ball away, and now they're going to hang on to it, and they're going to buy into it, and the ball may be passed back and forth. But you're really trying to reduce the anxiety that's going on around this situation. So there's ways around becoming more aware around, what is my intention for gossiping? Am I actually letting somebody know that I just need to vent? I don't need you to respond to me. I just need to get this off my chest. And the other thing is to consider, if somebody comes to you and they're talking about somebody else that's not in the room, is you can actually create a boundary and not buy into that, and say, you know what, it sounds like you really need to speak to so-and-so. It seems to be a concern you have there. Perhaps talking to them is going to be the better way to solve whatever's going on, right? So to create that boundary there, so that you're not actually taking on more anxiety than you need to, right? So and stress that's not necessary. Overfunctioning can happen as well. So overfunctioning is when we're stressed out, we may start giving advice to people. We may start that they don't actually need. We may be doing things for other people that those people can actually do for themselves. If you have children, it's going to be a different situation where parents are going to be, doing things that the kids actually can't do for themselves. But if you're, working with adults are fully capable of doing, doing their, let's say this is their job description, right? So to actually recognize that that person can do their job. I don't need to be coming over there and doing it for them. So overfunctioners tend to, they give unsolicited advice. They set goals for people that those people don't actually have for themselves. They burn out. So overfunctioners will eventually burn out because they're giving and giving and giving, and eventually they're going to burn out. And so it's important for them to become really aware of, how am I contributing to this pattern, right? And to start taking responsibility for self. And this comes back to taking care of you, as well as taking care of your clients, especially in that client relationship. Is the client is always right and the client is first is important, but it can be detrimental to the business owner if they don't take care of themselves. Okay. So the flip side of that is underfunctioning. So underfunctioning is somebody that they're going to ask for advice when they can actually do something themselves. They're asking for help when they are fully capable of doing the task that's needed to get done. And they'll set goals that they don't actually accomplish. They'll float with goals that aren't, they won't really look at achieving. They'll be talking more than listening. So they won't be as active in the discussion or conversation. And underfunctioners, they tend to be physically and mentally ill more often because they're hanging on to things, and they're not stepping up and being fully participative in a function, in a role, whether it's in the workplace or in a relationship. And so underfunctioners are, the worst case scenarios are becoming addicted to alcohol, to drugs, to food, and other things like that. Addiction behaviors are related to underfunctioning, because that becomes their solution is to go to something like a substance to fill the void for them. Another behavior is and so another thing on the underfunctioning. So to come out of that, it's all about, similar to the overfunctioner, is to actually start investing in self and taking full responsibility for self and not relying on others to take care of self, right? And to step up and to actually take that responsibility. Now, conflict is where people start to get into arguments and to really just go down the route of conflict, and I'm always right, you're wrong, and that's a way that they deal with stress, is they just get into arguments, and they and so a way around that is to become more aware of that I don't need to argue about this, I don't need to be right, but how come I need to be right about this? How can I let this go? How can I have a conversation that's more about what I'm experiencing with this situation versus blaming and pointing the finger at someone else? Because if you're pointing the finger at someone else, you actually have three fingers pointing back at you, right? When you point a finger. So you want to be aware of that. Blaming is not going to actually help resolve things that could actually continue to make things worse. So I have another resource that's around these behaviors that goes into all 6 of them. It's from a book called Extraordinary Relationships that I studied when I was doing my counseling diploma. And I think it is completely applicable to people in the workplace, because we're with people at work way more than we are with our family. So, and she talks about it in the book as well, and highlights that this can be good for workplace situations. So it's on my blog. Again, you can just write in the chat that you want the anxiety binder resource, and happy to get that out to you. Or you can go to my blog and get a copy of it. It talks about them, and then the flip side of how to work through them. And again, it's a mini workshop, or a full workshop I actually do, because it's such a powerful exercise around communication and getting better at communicating with coworkers and that. So the third key is around growth. And this speaks to my own personal journey, and you may be able to relate to this, is to be able to, if we're growing, we gotta be going outside of our comfort zone, right? And this is a quote by John Maxwell, but if I think about even just public speaking, like what I'm doing right now, I had tremendous anxiety and fear around public speaking, and I took little steps along the way to overcome it. And it's not that I don't get nervous anymore, but it doesn't. I don't get the anxiety that just blocks me from even speaking like it used to. But it took me a lot of steps outside of my comfort zone, and being okay, like Michael Jordan, to make mistakes, and Jack Canfield, and getting rejected, and maybe not my message not being heard because I wasn't an effective speaker. So just learning how to take steps outside my comfort zone, to become a better speaker. And this is around success too. To be successful, it's important to recognize there's going to be other things that need to be looked at, because the definition of, this is the definition of grow that I use in my book. And ultimately, it's about becoming greater over a period of time, right? So growth, personal and professional growth, it's not an immediate thing. It's going to take time, and to be okay with that, and to accept that it's not overnight. I'm not going to overcome this fear or this challenge overnight. I'm going to take little steps along the way to be able to overcome them. Because if you may have seen this quote by Albert Einstein, because if you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that is the definition of insanity, right? Is that there needs to be a commitment to recognize that things have to be done differently to get the different results, to achieve the success that you want to achieve. You're going to have to look at things and move forward with things from a different approach. Because and I believe that it has to do with mindset and people's mental states. When I played basketball in high school, my senior high school basketball coach, he would walk around, the circle, like we were all in a circle in the middle of the gym doing our stretching at the beginning of practice, and our coach would walk around behind us, and he'd just keep repeating the phrase, 80% of the game is between your ears. 80% of the game is between your ears. He'd just repeat that over and over again. 80% of the game is between your ears. And he would never explain it. He'd never even tell us what he was talking about. He would never talk about more about that, give examples, stories. He just would say that statement. And I was a teenager. I just thought that to be a better player, I needed to, I need to run faster. I needed to jump higher. I need to improve my shooting and my passing. And I was focused on the skills of basketball, the physical skills. And there was this whole mental side that it took me 2 or 3 years after high school for the light bulb to go off and for me to realize what he actually was talking about. And this whole idea that mindset is what separates the best from the rest, and to be able to recognize that our mental state is going to help us with success, right? And so ways to expand our mental state and to help strengthen it, I talk about in the book. There's lots of opportunities for journaling, and then the growth part of my book is around looking for other ways to strengthen your mental state, right? So creativity. So if you like painting, if you like drawing, if you like playing a musical instrument, if you like building something with your hands, find ways to access your creativity, because doing that outside of work, or even combining it with work, can bring about ideas that you would never have actually thought about before, and ways that you can be successful and overcome certain barriers and challenges that are coming up just by investing time in doing other things that you enjoy doing, right? And things like that you're more than likely aware of, physical activity and eating habits. So, recognizing that we're not meant to sit at a desk all day. We're meant to be moving and being active. So committing to, okay, how can I improve my physical activity? Because the more physically active you are, it helps with your mental state, right? It helps release endorphins, and it helps clear your head from the stress that you're having. So if you're feeling stressed out, how can you incorporate, even if you're just going for a 5-10 minute walk around the block, if that's all you can do today, can you commit to doing that, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to all of a sudden commit to going to the gym every day, because that can be a way to to set yourself up for failure, right? What is a small commitment around that? And what are you eating? What are the things that you're eating that are impacting your mental state? So are you eating healthy? Are you drinking lots of water? Are you getting more fruits and vegetables versus sugar and caffeine and all that kind of stuff, right? Meditation can be beneficial. And I've learned over the years that meditation doesn't mean that you have to be sitting for an hour in a quiet room. Like, you can meditate for a minute, and the thoughts that come up are okay. Even if you're getting all these, busy thoughts that are coming up, that's completely normal. It's not, meditation, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just actually sitting in for a period of time and just focusing on your breathing versus being busy and doing other things. And I use an app called Insight Timer which gives you access to guided meditations and things, but also you can just set a timer and it plays music in the background, and you can just focus on your breath for a minute, 5 minutes, and you can kind of progress from there as you go. And committing to look at your mental health. So recognizing this whole idea around mindset is your mental health is so important. 1 in 5 Canadians are going to experience some type of mental health challenge or addiction challenge in any given year. And it's amazing how mental health is the leading cause of disability in Canada. So anybody that's going on short-term or long-term disability, it's most likely due to mental health. So there's an opportunity to take care of yourself and look at your mental state and making sure that your mental health is strong. And I talk about in the book around your support network. I just want to touch on this, is to reflect on who is part of your support network, right? Who makes up your support network? What needs to change in your support network? So is there people that that you need to add to your support network? And maybe there's people that you need to remove from your support network. Maybe they're more gossipers than anything, and they're not actually helping you move forward. And you need to revisit who you have in your support network. Maybe it's a personal trainer. Maybe you need to get focus on your physical fitness, and a personal trainer is an investment that you may need to consider making, or a nutritionist to help you get better at what you're eating and making proper healthy meals, or a mentor. Maybe it's time to and if you have a mentor, or maybe it's time to really sit down and say, okay, let's create a specific intention as to what I'm looking to accomplish and what I need your help with, or going and finding a mentor that's at a place and accomplishing what you want to accomplish, and seeing if they're open to helping you with that. Perhaps looking at hiring a coach. Coaching is it's something I've used coaches over the years and to this day, and it can be a great resource to help you with having accountability and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to accomplish this week, and then having that be able to go to them and show them what you were able to accomplish over that week, that month, that quarter, that year. Or even getting into the counseling side of things, maybe something that's necessary. And this is where when I work with people, I provide an assessment initially to figure out if coaching or counseling is the best route. Coaching is good if you have a specific goal that you want to accomplish in the future, and you need help from an accountability perspective. Counseling, it's stress levels are high. There may be some depression there, anxiety, some mental illness that's happening or being diagnosed, and needing help in going through that, and more of the emotional side of things. This is a statistic I found around coaching. So this is from the U.S. And small business owners. This study in the U.S. are now hiring coaches, and they're willing to pay coaches to overcome the challenges they're facing, because business has become more complex, business is changing more rapidly, and they're willing to pay for the guidance to help them through that. Because especially a solo professional, solo entrepreneur, when you're wearing so many hats in the business, it can be very hard to remain focused. And it's no wonder that so many fail within a 5-year period because of they're having to do so much with just on their own. So within my practice, just to give you a bit of idea, I focus on these three keys and look at engagement, connection, and growth. Just like the title of my book, and it's the book is a workbook that I use with clients, and they can go through there's a total of 52 exercises. So it's meant to where it can actually be done on a weekly basis throughout a year, and go through it and start to become more engaged with themselves, connect to themselves and others, and then achieve growth from there. The ways that I help people is there's a do-it-yourself approach where you can purchase my book and work through the exercises on your own. If you're interested in purchasing a copy, you can just let me know in the chat window there, or contact me afterwards, and I'm happy to. If you're local, I'm happy to deliver a copy out to you. It is on Amazon as well, but I can get it to you and save you shipping if you prefer to get one locally. I also have an online self-study course. So the first section of my book, the Engage section, is an online video course that you can go through, and it's available off of my website, and you can just have me talking you through the exercises as well in video form and working through the lessons. And then I help people one-on-one through either coaching or counseling, as I talked about, and also doing more and more group work. Last week I spoke at the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver to their staff. They were looking for help around stress. And so to be able to use my workbook and go through lessons with people, I love doing that. It's so powerful to see people just go through the lessons and have their own aha moments on how to help be more engaged, be better, be a better leader, be better at working together as a team. So one thing I can offer to anybody that's here today, if you're interested, I do offer a 30-minute reality check session. I'll talk about is it time for a reality check, and really review where you're at now, where you want to get to. Let's look at your goal, your intention, and then make sure that it's an experience-based intention. What are some activities you can start to do to reach your goal? So give you a better sense as to where you're at in your business and your life, and then decide, if my services are a right fit, or if you have have other resources you can access to be able to help you hit your goals. So to book a session, you can either call me at the number below there, or send me an email, and we can book a time to. A lot of those sessions I have over the phone, or I can have it over Zoom like this, and go through that with you. Anybody have any questions at all? If you do, you can just let me know in the chat window, and I can unmute you should be able to unmute your own microphone if you want. But yeah, just want to see if anybody had any questions. We're at 2 minutes past 9:30, so I'm aware of everybody's cognizant of everybody's time. There's no questions. I just wanted to quickly say that this is a quote that I use with my clients. The idea that your vision is going to become clear only when you look into your own heart. So who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. So this is a quote by Carl Jung, who's a famous Swiss psychiatrist who I studied when I was doing my counseling diploma. So the next steps, you've got two next steps is what I would suggest. So one option is to continue to look outside and dream. Or one that I highly recommend is to consider looking inside and doing your inner work, if you aren't already doing it, to awake from there, and to see how that can help you with with success in working and committing to work on yourself. And the big part of any exercise, with personal growth and professional growth, is taking action. And so one thing that would be great to hear, if anybody's open to sharing, is what's one simple step you can take in the next 24 hours to help you with your intention. What's a simple thing? And this is not about this is something that's attainable, something you can actually do in the next 24 hours, based on what you've learned today, to help you move forward with your goal. I want to thank everybody for their time today. I do have a short feedback form that and any feedback you have, I'd love to hear from you via email or in the chat window, just to get your feedback on this session, and anything I can do to improve on it would be wonderful. I'm just going to pull up this poll here, and if there's just a few questions for everybody to fill out, just around the content of the presentation, myself as a presenter, and which of the keys you resonated with. Does everybody see that poll that's up there? Yeah, we got people entering it now. Great, thank you so much. yeah, again, I want to thank everybody for attending. If you have any questions at all, feel free to contact me. Like I said, I do lunch and learns and workshops, in addition to helping people one-on-one and looking to do more of these presentations in the Lower Mainland and also over the web as well. So happy to be of help if if you think it'd be of value for your team or any groups that you're part of. Thanks again for joining me this morning. I really appreciate you being here.